Hey guys, this is chapter 12. We're still going to be talking about biodiversity, but in this case, we're concentrating more on preserving landscapes. So it would really help you guys out before the test if you actually, before this test for chapter 12, if you actually go over the list of biomes, features, characteristics, and stuff like that. Couple of biomes we will be concentrating on here has to do more with boreal forests as well as tropical rainforests, but that does not under any circumstance mean that other biomes are not being threatened. Please write this down somewhere. It is going to show up on either your multiple choice section or essays. One of the most threatened biome today is the mangroves. There's very little place in the world allocated is the wrong word. Very small amount of space is actually mangroves, and if a landscape can be called endemic, then the mangroves would be that. So the other thing I wanted to tell you guys was, could you just go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because every time I post a video, I have to send you an email with all the information, and basically I'm sending the exact same email over and over and over again. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button so that I don't have to do that, because I'm a lazy bum. Biodiversity. So in the previous chapter we looked at 3 different types of diversities. The last of one was genetic, species, and ecological. This chapter is going to concentrate a lot on ecological diversity and how do we preserve it. A couple of things we will be covering: well, forests, boreals, deforestation. I will be adding a lot of different information in this about mangroves, about desertification, but this is going to be a relatively small chapter, just because a lot of it has been covered in the previous chapter. Couple of things here. Please make sure that you kind of this is an important fact. This is an important fact. Also remember that these slides were made in 2005. So the way I would go with this is that these numbers have gone down. So when you're doing your test, if you think about multiple choice questions, if you see anything lower than 30%, I would pick that as a choice. They haven't gone up. We haven't gotten any better at it. So also remember the tropical forests have the highest SD. I'm going to use SD as a short form for species diversity. High SD. And boreals have low SD. Boreals, however, have a high species. They are high in species abundance. Okay, this is taking too long. I'm just going to write abundant, okay? So they have this, they might have large numbers of the same species. Excuse me. They may not have a species, they may not be very diverse, but they still have large numbers of them. So they might be species abundant or species rich, but they are not species diverse. Obviously, I don't think I have to go over it. Every forest, every ecosystem does provide us a lot of essential resources required for human beings. They are vital in regulating the climate. When we do the chapter on climates and wind and air and all of that stuff, we'll go over more in detail about that. They do. This is a very important part since we've already done water. Remember, any kind of water runoff, soil runoff is actually is prevented by having forests, and having grasslands do an amazing job of that. When you get rid of grasslands, you get the dust bowl. They are also obviously providing that habitat for animals and plants. They do purify the air. Remember, trees take in CO2 and give out O2. That is just the one part of it that we know. There's another portion of it that's not talked about a lot, but if you know some science, you would know that. Trees also process a lot of nitrates because they need nitrogen to incorporate into their nitrates. There you go. They also process nitrates because they do need a nitrogen to as a part of making, replicating their DNA as well as for their protein structures. So they do process a lot of nitrates. We have talked about the symbiotic relationship between fungi and plants in the nodules for fixing nitrogen. There are bacteria that fix nitrates. There is a nitrification process that takes place. So a lot of nitrates that are dumped into the atmosphere in the form of NOx. That's my dog. In the form of NOx are actually processed by plants. So having NOx is a natural outcome of the mining industry. So a lot of mining. So they are a natural process outcome of the mining industry, and that is NOx are also processed very effectively by plants because they have to fix nitrogen in order to, for their own purposes, to make their own DNA, to make more DNA, to make more proteins that they need. So they're also obviously beautiful. Again, these are terms. These are definition terms. Please remember them. Make sure that you kind of learn them. The largest remaining forests on the planet are found in high and cold latitudes and equatorial regions. So you're looking at the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn and the equator. Equator. And then you have Tropic of Cancer. I'm not writing the whole word, it takes too long. Tropic of Capricorn. So you have a lot, and then you have obviously the tundra right there. Arctic and Antarctic. So you have a lot of forests in this area, and then you have a lot of forests in this area. The boreals are here. This is the boreal. And this is your boreal, obviously. And this is where your tropical forests are. Okay, I have not written down all, I've just made them short abbreviations. Make sure that you have this, draw this picture out on your notes because you're going to need it. This is a very effective way for you to to have that picture down and to draw them and draw it out. It's a very effective way to get full points on your essay. So this gives you kind of a breakup of the forests and the regions where you find them. This is just, you know, equator, Cancer, no, yeah, Cancer, Capricorn. So you can find most of the forests. This is your tropical forest. Everything in green is kind of your tropical forest. And boreals and okay, my indication is not all that. And then so you have a closed forest and an open forest. This has to do a closed canopy forest. A closed canopy forest is usually where there is an overlapping crown of trees. So if this is your forest floor, basically all of it is covered with trees. Under these circumstances, when you have closed forests, there is actually less life form in this area just because they do have less sunlight. So the open savannas have a lot less coverage of trees. So if this is forest, you'd have a couple of trees right there, and the open savannas usually have a higher SD. Again, I'm using SD as a short form for species diversity. When you have a closed canopy forest, you usually have less species on the floor of it, just because there's more humidity and there is less sunlight, which is, you need both of those for life. Tropical forests. This is another important part of it, old growth forests. Old growth forests usually have a lot of native endemic species to that area, and they also unfortunately seem to be the most disturbed in terms of lumber, in terms of using it for agriculture. Old growth forests are bigger victims of it. Now we do have systems where we once we cut down a tree, we do actually CUL culture. Okay. We do plant other trees, but usually what happens when we plant trees as a replacement for the old trees that have been cut down, it is going to be a monoculture. That means you plant one type of tree that's most effective in living in that area. So you are reducing the species diversity while increasing the abundance of that one type of tree plant. For example, in California, they made a bonehead mistake because of first they gave out lumbering rights on the mountainside, which was awful because one of the biggest things it did, what big trees did, was even if they burnt down, the roots were still in the soil. So one of the things that happened was that once you had a fire and then if you had rain, you would have mudslide. But if the roots were still in the soil, you didn't have a mudslide. But when they started lumbering them and pulling the whole tree out and then planting other trees, while mudslides were prevented, they did want to plant something that would grow faster. So they planted eucalyptus trees. California is a place that burns. Eucalyptus is heavy in oil. That was just kindling to fire. So monocultures do have, so is it a good thing that we cut down trees and we plant other trees? Sometimes it is actually required for the health of the forest that certain old trees be cut down. But we could definitely get away from actually making them into monocultures. The next slide is again a lot of statistics. So this is a very important statistics that we're going to concentrate on a little later, and we're also going to concentrate on